If there's one thing that metal is great at, it is breeding elitists, basically walking examples of the no true Scotsman fallacy. Since metal started very underground, and since metal attracted a lot of people who felt like somewhat of outcasts of society, the moment that the metal bands that they love become accepted and loved on a bigger, massive scale, they instantly don't like them. I'm not necessarily saying it's because the metal fans don't want the bands to be popular because it's just theirs and nobody else's, and they hold on to that resentment. It could also be the fact that these bands actually change their sounds and become more popular, but also lose that audience that loved them for that old sound, and the new sound's kind of like, nah. Regardless, it is kind of a trope to call popular metal bands sellouts or posers. Anyone who actually has great success or has an enormous following, they're typically labeled as posers. So today we're going to find out who is the biggest poser in the world in the metal community. Which metal band is the most popular? So Metal Sucks has an article of the 50 most popular metal bands, quote, according to the internet. It's according to their site users. They measured the traffic to their website based upon which bands were in the article. Is it perfect? No, and they know it's not perfect, although it's interesting for sure. But the thing is, Metal Sucks attracts specifically people who want to consume metal media. There may be a popularity for a metal band outside of the metal community that we may not be accounting for. So I am going to use Google Trends. Now, I think this list that they have built here is a really good place to start, frankly. So let's go from top to bottom and take a look at the trends for the last 5 years, just like they did on their website last 5 years, to see who is the most popular metal band. Now, again, this obviously is not perfect, although it is 1050% scientific, like more scientific than is scientifically possible. That's how scientific this video is. So it should be taken with the utmost seriousness. Also cock gobbling. All right, so first thing we're gonna type in here is Metallica. Band. Past 5 years. From what I can tell, looks like they have some slight ups, some slight downs. Looks like they're currently on somewhat of a decline, but it's not super noticeable. Pretty consistent. And I forgot to talk about this on the original recording, but there are two massive spikes here. One right up here in 2016 was when they released their album Hardwired to Self-Destruct. And then their other massive spike right here around February of 2017 was actually when they had the mic issue at the Grammys when they were singing with Lady Gaga. Interesting how a huge mistake like that is going to drive their traffic to their website and actually probably help them gain some popularity. All right, next band down, Slipknot. Oops, hold on. I also forgot to change it. That's for the United States. We want worldwide. That is a substantially different looking graph. Let's just compare the two really quickly. That's the United States. That's worldwide. That is very substantially different. A lot of the ebbs and flows that are happening here, which are more subtle in the United States, are far more exaggerated when we go to worldwide. That is actually super interesting to me. Either way, we're going to stick to worldwide right now. Next up is Slipknot. Slipknot does not have near the popularity of Metallica, though it looks like there are certain periods where they peak to either meet or just beat Metallica at certain points. And that's worldwide. Let's take a look in the US. In the US, about the time they were dropping their singles and dropping their album, it looks like they had well surpassed the Metallica popularity, at least in search terms. Yeah, worldwide, Metallica definitely dominating a lot more. All right, next up is Slayer. Okay, so it's not auto-completing for me to pick the band. It's giving me Demon Slayer manga series, which I'm not familiar with, Justin Slayer, American pornographic film actor, sweet, and Kerry King, American musician. I'm not going to type in Kerry King because nobody says Kerry King in all caps with a lot of exclamation points in a comment. They say Slayer. So let's just go for Slayer as a search term. Worldwide, it looks like it has not a whole lot of popularity and then has massive spikes around here. But this is not isolated to the band Slayer. Anything that has Slayer built into the name, like Demon Slayer, the anime, that would impact these results. So yeah, if we go down here to related queries for Slayer, It says that the rising ones are Manga, Goblin Slayer. Yeah, it's all manga shit. If we switch it from rising to top queries, the Slayer, Demon, Demon Slayer, Goblin, Goblin Slayer. So it's not Slayer the band. That being the case, I'm not saying that there isn't the potential for Slayer to be, and rivaling some type of popularity with Metallica in some way, or at least with Slipknot. But I don't think that we can count these results one way or the other. So we're going to have to exclude them. Sorry, Slayer. I know the metal community loves you a lot. All right. Next up, Megadeth. Truly beloved in the metal community, super beloved as a matter of fact, and they suck giant dicks. They are below popularity of both Metallica and Slipknot worldwide, which by our standards makes them more metal than Slipknot and Metallica, so seems like this is accurate. All right, Ghost, Swedish band. For the first 2 years, it looks like they were above Megadeth still, which blows my mind, but below Slipknot. So it looks like right around September of 2016 is when they got a boost and stayed consistently, quote unquote, as popular as Slipknot. And they've been kind of competing back and forth with little boosts here and there until Slipknot released their new album and their new single, significantly overtaking Ghost on the average there. If you compare the averages, they're pretty close. 11 versus 8. Yeah, that's pretty close. Still nobody beating the poser status of Metallica yet, so let's keep going. Guns N' Roses. Now, this is controversial as to whether or not these guys are actually metal too, even though I personally have always considered them a metal band, even though Google says rock band. Eat shit, Google. Wow, that was very surprising. To give you guys a comparison in the United States versus internationally, in the United States, it's still pretty clearly Metallica here. I guess in comparison to Slipknot globally, they have a lot more reach, looks like, at least until Slipknot again released its new album. We're seeing a bunch of spikes over here back in 2015 and 2016. So what happened in January of 2016? We go to news, and then we go to tools, custom range. And you know what? We'll even back it up one day just to make sure we got everything. Go. 8 unquestioned answers about Guns N' Roses reunion. Okay. Coachella lineup includes Guns N' Roses, Calvin. Okay, so this is when Guns N' Roses announced that they were reuniting. Then let's pop it over here to April 3rd to April 9th. Guns N' Roses perform first classic reunion show. All right, so that's when they actually did the tour as opposed to just announcing it. Okay, that makes some sense. And I think that demonstrates that they're definitely more popular than Slipknot, at least outside of just the metal community. But they are waning in relevance. And the only thing that really brought their relevance back to more than Slipknot's relevance was that reunion. So how far back do we trace the aggregate of popularity before it counts? Or how recently do we take the relevancy of something to call it popularity? I think that's an interesting question in and of itself. All right, lowest one's gonna fall out from here on out. So Megadeth, bye-bye. Iron Maiden beats out Ghost, just barely. Oh no, it's equal to Slipknot. All right, at least on the averages, it's equal to Slipknot. Seems like they had a couple of little boosts here and there, but for the most part, pretty consistent. Definitely not up there with Guns N' Roses status or with Metallica status. Although overall, I'd say they're normally above Slipknot for the most part. It's really this area right here when Slipknot put out their new materials where they're putting the averages closer to their favor. In my opinion, I would weight it a little bit more towards Iron Maiden. Future Mike here. Yes, on a side-by-side comparison of just Iron Maiden and Slipknot, Iron Maiden does just barely edge them out by 2 points, 34 to 32. Very close one though. But regardless, we know that Ghost is definitely out of here. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. You can already see that the answers that we're getting here are different than the answers that are on their website. Not that they're drastically different, but there are some differences. All right, here's a great example. Next up is Mastodon. Mastodon band doesn't even pop up in autocomplete. They're number 8 on this list. We just go to search terms. This includes anything that has the word Mastodon in it. They are so bare ass at the bottom. Their average is what, 3, 2? It was hard enough just to get my cursor over that sliver is so fucking small. So yeah, number 8 on this list for metalheads, but next to non-existent. globally of just everyone. Things like that I think are interesting. All right, Machine Head. Holy piss, that's worse than Mastodon. Their average is what, 1? I can't even get my cursor over top of their average. It's that low. Oh, you poor bastards. Next up, Pantera. So the band does not autocomplete. We get an autocomplete for Yari Rodriguez, a Mexican mixed martial artist. Junior Fernandez, I'm assuming that's supposed to be Junior because you don't say junior in Spanish, who is a footballer, also known in America as a soccer player or a challenged person. Then we have Black Panther. All right, let's just go search term. Now, on the surface, it would look like Pantera is more popular than Iron Maiden and Slipknot. We have an aggregate of everything where the word Pantera was used in the search term worldwide. Now, if we add Pantera over here just in the United States, notice how low this is in comparison to all the others. We do slightly further Google research. Pantera definition, which I already knew what this was, but I'm doing it for you. Pantera, noun, panther, a leopard, especially a large one. The Italian to English dictionary. Where did the name Pantera come from? The word Pantera means panther in a number of languages, but the name of the band is derived from their hometown of Pantego, Texas. So this suggests to me that one, they probably aren't as popular as Iron Maiden, maybe not as popular as Slipknot, but I kind of doubt it. I would say almost definitely not as popular as Guns N' Roses. So this is pretty abysmally low, and this is for anything that has the word Pantera in the search term, not just the band. If I type in Dimebag Daryl, it gets worse. Okay. We can do enough research around to see that this worldwide statistic is not a good statistic to look at because it's getting conflated with, specifically here, when Black Panther was released in 2018, you have a massive spike. Going off of the US stuff, I think we can probably say they're at the bottom of the pack. All right, Tool. I love how the first related term is penis. Where do they come up with this shit? Let's just go for tool search term. It absolutely dominates everything because the word tool is an extraordinarily common word in the English language. This is unfair. If we go down to tool, the related queries, let's not even go rising. Let's go top. Toolbox, Northern Tool, Toolkit, Flash Tool, Windows 10. And they don't give me any autocomplete for the actual band itself. So there's a 99% chance that we're going to have to just discard these results and they can't be included. James Keenan. All right, let's try that. Yeah, he's like way down at the bottom here. Even when Tool was actually talking about releasing their fucking album after a bajillion years, it's still not much of anything. I'm not saying I'm going to say that they're at the bottom of the pack for this, but I'm just saying we can't include them. It's just not... It's not fair. All right, corn. Corn beverage. This one really surprised me. Now I need to know what the hell a corn beverage is. Corn, also known as Kornbrand or Kornbrandwein, is a German colorless distilled beverage produced from fermented cereal grain seed. In the production of corn, only the cereal grain types rye, wheat, barley, oat, and buckwheat are permissible. I had no idea that was a thing. I would be very interested to know if that's actually the namesake for the band Korn. Cool stuff. Either way, let's get to it. Korn. All right, they are still at the bottom of the pack, very distinctly so. Looks like some of the time they're close to Slipknot, but definitely not beating them. There's no real clear area where they take the top of the pack anywhere. So they're distinctly not winning this one. Lamb of God. I already know what this answer is going to be. Yeah, they are extremely low on the list. Lamb of God is very much a metalhead's metal band. Babymetal. This should be massive, right? I mean, they were in a sense, quote unquote, J-pop phenomenon. They were blown up as this like massive thing and a super popular band. Worldwide, still substantially lower than both Iron Maiden and Slipknot. They were consistently below until they had this substantial boost here where they overtake both Iron Maiden and Slipknot, and rival Metallica's popularity there for a second, which I'm assuming is probably some sort of tour, or maybe they were featured on a video. Let's see, April 3rd to April 9th, 2016. Babymetal confuses but wows US audiences on Colbert. Okay, so Babymetal went on Stephen Colbert's late night show, and they got a huge boost. Even still, Colbert did not save them from being the bottom of the pack. Motorhead, rock band. It looks like they were consistently bottom of the pack until right here, where they have a massive spike and overtake everyone. And yeah, December of 2015 to January 2nd of 2016, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what this is. Lemmy Kilmister, the hard-living, jagged voice of Motorhead, dies at 70. And if we look there, that's also the exact same point where Guns N' Roses had their spike, which must be a hell of a weird coincidence announcing your reunion the day that Lemmy died, at least the day that they found out that Lemmy died. See, this type of statistic right here makes me wonder about the nature of popularity and how you measure that on these types of metrics. Motorhead is a fundamental and foundational metal band of the whole metal movement. And it's just very clear when you listen to them, they do not have a whole lot of mainstream broad appeal. But for a lot of hardcore metalheads, they absolutely love Motorhead a lot. And Lemmy was the icon of that. Not to mention the fact that Lemmy had so many friends in the industry itself. As I recall, he was a pretty darn well-liked guy. I could be wrong on that. So when he dies and you see a ton of articles coming out about this guy Lemmy who died, and the average person probably has no idea who he is if you're not a musician, his search terms for the band Motorhead and for him spike massively. I mean, huge. Probably not indicating the popularity of Motorhead so much as people trying to figure out who Motorhead are. But it does say something to the staying power of this band and the fact that they have a very clearly defined, irremovable, indelible mark on music, period. And for the record, I'm not a Motorhead fan, but I still think that's really damn cool. Immure band, number 16 out of 50 on their list, regularly hitting less than 1 on these statistics. As I Lay Dying. Novel and film are above the rock band Fair to Midland? What the hell is Fair to Midland doing on here? Why is the band not listed at all? As I Lay Dying are definitely larger than Fair to Midland. Don't get me wrong, I like Fair to Midland, but what the hell is this? This is hilarious is what this is. Let's just go straight for the search term. Just the search term As I Lay Dying. It still doesn't do jack shit. Yeah, so they're out. Veil of Maya, definitely a niche band. I assume these are probably going to be nearly the same. Yep, nearly the same. Dio. All right, let's go Dio. Ronnie James Dio, American singer. This should be good. Wow. I am really, really blown away by how low Dio is on this list. You'd think at least with Holy Diver, Rainbow in the Dark, you'd think he would at least be higher than that. And maybe that shows my own personal bias and my perspective is just like Dio is just an integral part of the metal community. And I thought he had a broader appeal, but these are the facts. Sorry, Ronnie. Got to move past you, buddy. Avenged Sevenfold. So the band doesn't come up. The musical group Nonkni, whatever the fuck that is, I can't pronounce that. All Access, a 2007 film comes up, and a self-titled studio album comes up. They don't have the band. We're gonna go all search terms for Avenged Sevenfold, and it's still lower than everyone else. Back here in 2016, I believe that's when they released The Stage. Yep, October 28th, 2016. When they released The Stage, they just barely overtook Iron Maiden and Slipknot, and it seems like we're actually seeing a trend here around mid 2018 where they start to decline, averaging 4 and 3. We're 5 over there, and by the time we get over here to 2019, they're at 2, pop up to 3 for a second. That was probably when they did the top 20 guitarists of the decade type of thing for Guitar World. Yeah, their popularity is waning, it seems. Five Finger Dick Punch. Looking similar to Avenged Sevenfold, except it doesn't seem like they had this 2018, 2017 drop off. So you guys who love Iron Maiden and Metallica and Slipknot but hate Five Finger Death Punch and calling them not real metal and call them sellouts, they didn't sell out as hard as those bands, apparently. Just something to think about when looking at the actual statistics. Black Sabbath. This will be interesting. Rock band. Wow. If they're calling Black Sabbath a rock band, the fact that they call Guns N' Roses a rock band, I think invalidates that argument. Still consistently below. They were stuck here, like literally flatlined at 6. Got somewhat of a boost there, which I'm not sure what's going on. I could look at that, but no real reason to. Seems like there's a dip in Maiden and Slipknot, and there's a simultaneous rise in Black Sabbath where they just barely overtake them for a little bit. Goes back down, and then it's pretty much stable with Slipknot through most of 2018 until Slipknot released their new album. But yeah, verified bottom of the pack. Just for shits and giggles, let's replace Guns N' Roses with Ozzy Osbourne, so that we can do a comparison of Ozzy Osbourne versus Black Sabbath. So it looks pretty similar, but there's more spikes in the graph for Ozzy Osbourne, and I think that's because he is such a personality. This is when he released his album. This is the largest spike right here, May 8th to May 14th. 2016. Oh, why Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne split up now after 33 years. I didn't even know they had a divorce. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. His wife is already her own type of personality too. So between his star power and her star power, that's kind of like a exponential boost. That's sad. Gonna pop Guns N' Roses back in there, and we're gonna move on. The Faceless, just as a search term by itself, is one. No, duh. Cannibal Corpse. All right. Yeah, it's still relatively low in the pack. Although they do have this little nub right here that pops up. Cannibal Corpse at 5 from December 23rd to the 29th. 82 firearms, 3 skulls discovered in Cannibal Corpse guitarist Pat O'Brien's home. Yeah, I remember that. I wish I could have made a video about it, but I had no idea what to say other than, hey, this is some crazy shit. And also, is this surprising in the fucking least? 82 firearms, good on ya. 3 skulls, you got a problem. I don't even know what he got arrested for. I don't even fucking care. All right, here's one. Marilyn Manson. I feel like he may be a big enough personality with how shock value he is. There it is. All right. All right. Doesn't quite peek out over Iron Maiden or Slipknot, but damn close. Really close. And even looking at the timeline here, he's pretty neck and neck and actually consistently over top of Slipknot for what looks like a year. About a year, yeah. Even over top of Iron Maiden for a good 4 months, 5 months maybe. October 1st, October 7th, 2017. I bet you that was an album release. Marilyn Manson injured by falling stage prop at concert. Cancels tour dates due to stage injury. Okay. I feel like I kind of remember this story going around. I just remember not caring. I'm kind of surprised it gave him that big of a boost. I mean, that boost goes over everyone at that point. But still, bottom of the pack. Behemoth. Yeah, also a very niche metal band. Even the search term itself, Behemoth, is still verifiably at the bottom. My boys Gwar. What the fuck? No, they don't even have the band in here. Going search term. This makes me sad. You'd think they'd have slightly more popularity with being on Viva La Bam. Next up, Danzig. First of all, I would not call Danzig metal. Second of all, the fact that this is the picture that they used on the website makes me laugh my ass off for days, and I love it. Devin Townsend, yeah, he's definitely very niche. Yeah, no. Suicide Silence, again, niche band. Not surprising. Limp Bizkit, about where I anticipated they would be. Bottom of the pack. Periphery. We'll just do periphery as a search term, because I bet it's still going to be very low. Yep, super, super, super low. Deftones. Pretty sure this is also going to be relatively low. Sucks, because the Deftones actually have some great production. Saying Clown Posse. Hip-hop duo. Yet they're in metal website. Still very low. Linkin Park. So this makes this graph incredibly difficult to read. Obviously, we all know what happened right here. The death of Chester, God rest his soul. But even with this super compressed data that's not entirely accurate just because there's way too much margin for error with the lack of fidelity, it looks like they are on par with Iron Maiden and Slipknot, if not above them regularly. I mean, you can call them metal. They definitely have a metal influence. I'm sure there's some debate there. But yeah, they're very, very popular, and they only come in at 35 on Metal Injection list. All right, I'm just going to skip through to the ones that I think could possibly compete. Attila, no. Meshuggah, no. Judas Priest, not going to beat these guys. Anthrax, not going to beat these guys. System of a Down, I feel like these guys might have a chance. I think Iron Maiden edges them out just a little bit. So this is still next to impossible to read. So I'm going to put Slipknot back in over top of Linkin Park with the understanding that Linkin Park is above Iron Maiden and Slipknot. Rats, System of a Down, still too far down. Not too surprising considering the band hasn't been active, but I would think that they would at least have a little bit more staying power. Black Dahlia Murder, no. Disturbed, maybe Disturbed. Wow, even the Sounds of Silence cover is not very clear for me to see on this graph, and they are still at the bottom of the pack. It definitely looks like at the beginning of 2015, they saw a gradual rise throughout that whole year, but again, still bottom of the pack. All That Remains, no. Gojira, no. Dream Theater, just for my own curiosity, and because I think it'd be interesting to see how they compare to these megastar bands. Yeah, they are pretty far down there. They're about where Disturbed started out, and it looks like in 2015 they were actually doing better than they have for the rest of these 5 years, which is kind of sad. 2016, I'm pretty sure that was the release of The Astonishing. And then I guess people just fell off after that. Killswitch Engage. All right. I feel like these guys may have some type of clout, although I don't think they're going to overtake Slipknot. Oh, wow. That's a lot lower than I thought. Killswitch has less popularity than Dream Theater. That blows my mind. Asking Alexandria, no. Dragon Force, no. Ozzy Osbourne, Did It. Thy Art Is Murder, no. So it looks like our winner for biggest poser metal band is Metallica. Which, for anyone wondering, Metallica are in my top 10 favorite artists, so it's not like I'm taking this super seriously. It's just a joke. Either way, I think there's actually a pretty cool takeaway here. One, I think it kind of shows just on a broader level how small metal is in comparison to, I would say, a lot of other popular artists. We didn't do any comparisons between the popular metal bands and other popular artists from other genres, although I think that could actually be a really cool video and experiment. Also, this is not a perfect way of measuring popularity, but I think that it has some insight to give. But yeah, it definitely gives you some perspective, especially when there are people in the metal community who are very hostile towards outsiders, and knowing that a lot of times people who get into metal consider themselves to be outsiders of the larger society. I just find it very fascinating. I think this is very interesting. Seeing some real metrics of comparing these different bands in popularity, I would have never thought that Iron Maiden and Slipknot were that close together over the last 5 years. It's a very big, Anyway, that was cool. What did you guys think? Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you like this video, if you like what I do in this channel, go ahead, hit that like button, leave that comment down there, share the video, please share the video. If you've watched a couple of videos already and you haven't subscribed yet, just go ahead and hit subscribe. You know you want to. If you want to help me keep making badass videos for you, you can support me on Subscribestar, link in the description. And you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Become the Night. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. Rock on!